Around plugins can be used to modify arguments to the original method, to change the return value, do both, or to stop the original method from being called altogether. To declare an around plugin method, we prefix the target method name with the keyword around. Just like with before and after plugins, the first argument to an around plugin method is the subject. In addition to the subject, the method also receives the original method arguments. But before the original arguments are listed in the signature, it receives one additional argument, a closure that is customarily called proceed. This proceed method will call the original method or the next plugin in the execution chain. The around plugin method is responsible for calling proceed and passing along any arguments. If the plugin doesn't call proceed, then the original method and any plugins with a greater sort order will not be called. This might be useful, for example, to implement a caching wrapper. In most cases, however, plugins do call proceed. Because it's so important, I want to repeat that one more time. If the around method doesn't trigger proceed, any plugins further down the execution chain and the original method will be short-circuited. Let's add an around plugin to the product repository getById method as an example. So this is our plugin class. It still contains the before getById method, and now I'll just add the around getById method as an example. So that's the method name. The first argument is the same subject as the other plugin method. And the second argument is the proceed closure instance. And after that, all the original method arguments have to be listed. So I'll copy them from here in the product repository interface getById method and paste them into our plugin method. Reformat the code, and here we go. Now we have to call proceed. And we have to pass along any arguments. And finally, if the original method returns a value, we also have to return it. Let's add some logging so we can easily see that our plugin is executed. Okay, let's try it out. So first I want to remove the log file so I can easily see the new log messages. Now I want to flush the full page cache. Now I'll reload the product detail page. And let's give it a second to synchronize. There we go. And here we can see our new log messages. Very nice. If the around plugin doesn't require access to the original methods, so here we're using product ID, but if I get rid of these, in that case, we can write the plugin in a slightly more upgradable manner using variadic arguments. So I'll remove all the original arguments and use ... $args to receive all arguments in an array, and to pass them on, we'll use the split operator. Now, if getById is upgraded in a future version of Magento and additional optional arguments are added, our plugin doesn't need to be updated. It'll just continue to work. Around plugins are a wee bit more expensive compared to before and after plugins. So, as a rule of thumb, they should only be used when the target method is to be substituted with some custom code, or if the plugin is required to keep track of some state from before and after the invocation of the original method. This is also stated in the technical guidelines. So here are the technical guidelines, and on the topic of interception, it states, around plugins should only be used when behavior of an original method is supposed to be substituted in certain scenarios. In practice, I haven't been able to measure the difference between around before and after plugins in real-life scenarios. For me, a better reason to prefer before and after plugins is that they are less complex than around plugins. And less complexity is always a good thing.